Welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Driven Podcast. Today my guest is Nicole Brooks. And Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Nicole has a hell of a story to share with us, and I know it can be nerve-wracking, so thank you so much, because at the end of the day, this is going to help you in your journey, so I'm super pumped for this. Nicole, so please, we were chatting a little before we started filming, and you were sharing that the first time you remember thinking about your weight was when you were like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Take me back to that time. What? It's been some time, but what can you remember from that time?
I just remember always loving food and always sneaking it. I feel like I've been a food addict my whole life probably, and I work in addictions now, so it makes sense. Like I would hide it, I would feel shame, I would overdo it, and that was what would bring me joy, but very temporarily. And then I think that's just who I was. I just found comfort in food. I was always kind of picked on and bullied because I was really tall and always chunky, so I feel like that was my friend, was going to food. So I was always the big girl.
What did that bullying look like for you?
Well, the obvious, like the very unoriginal bully things with chunkier people and saying, oh, fatso. Or
like people
fatty.
would like literally...
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, back in the 80s, I feel like it's easier then because there was no cell phones to take pictures of, say, someone's butt or post it all over the internet or, publicly humiliate people. But, it didn't stop it from being painful. My mom said it was hard for her as a mom to have me come home every day crying. And now that I'm a mom, I feel that so deeply. And it's like, oh. So, I mean... Kids would say like, oh, hey Nick, why don't you come over and play with us? Like the older kids, the cool kids, and I'd get so excited, and then I'd go over to play with them and they'd laugh at me like, haha, you think we'd really invite someone like you? And so it was, that kind of shaped my whole life, I think, to being insecure and turning to food and just not being mentally healthy, I don't think, so.
And So you start thinking about this becomes evident early on. How does it develop over, say, the next 10 years after that? So from that age to your teenage years, what was being a teenager like?
I feel myself gulping because there was, I always had friends. I feel like even though I've been insecure, I've always been kind of a very social person, and I've always had boyfriends, but it was always for the wrong reason. I feel like I was kind of taken advantage of, and some bad things happened in my teenage years that furthered my eating and my addiction to food and my comfort with food, and I feel like I had some real friends that saw me as the person that I am, and they're still friends to this day. But then I feel like, well, what about all those other people that didn't even give me a chance to show them I'm pretty fucking awesome? I am a good person, but they didn't see that because all they saw was this big girl.
Right.
And almost immediately in high school, if you're the big girl, you're not popular, you're not a cheerleader, you're not a jock, you're just the big girl.
Right.
And that's how you're seen. And I was very aware of that. And it sucked. Like, plain and simple, it just sucked.
One thing I remember was... When I was at my heaviest, I remember getting in relationships that I knew weren't great for me, just because I thought I didn't deserve any better.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I should be glad that someone will even look at me.
Yeah.
Did you find that was...
Totally. You put up with stuff that you shouldn't, and have toxic relationships. Especially as a female, I feel like I definitely got talked to in a way that I sure as hell would not appreciate or approve of or deal with right now.
Right.
But when you're 16 and you have your first love, what you think is your first love, and if you don't have that self-esteem, it's really hard to stand up for yourself. And my first boyfriend, that was not a good situation in a lot of ways, and I think that kind of set the tone for how I felt about myself going into adulthood too. And it's sad, but that is what it is, and I just kind of keep moving through it. So
I have to commend just being able to look back and face that. You know, we don't help ourselves by continuing to feel guilty or embarrassed of our past, right? If the past had not been the way that it was, you would not be who you are today, right?
That's exactly what I say. And it's so true. And I, as an adult, it might be kind of harsh, but with my friends, I don't have any tolerance for people who sit and wallow in their self-misery, because I will be your best friend and I will support you through the hard times, but let it go.
Right.
Like, move through it. Even if it's something really bad, you can always move through it with, you know, time and help and all that. But I figured I could still, to this point, be sitting there feeling sorry for myself, like, oh, I'm fat, or I have no friends, or I didn't have this good childhood. But then I realized that's not serving me.
Right.
I'm not going to get where I want to be by staying stuck in that little pocket of just misery. Exactly.
At which point did you notice that change? Like, because if your teenage years were you know relationships that just continued to cement that narrative of, you know, lack of self-worth, et cetera, where did it go for the next 10 years, say from 16 to 26?
Right.
What was life like when you get out there and you start after school?
Yeah, I mean, it was up and down. I feel like in my early, like from high school graduation, I moved right out to my own place. So I felt like that gave me a lot of confidence to know that I could do it on my own. But I also made a lot of bad choices, as most of us do when we're 18 to 20. And then I moved back to Canada. I was in the States from age 12 to 23, and then I moved back to Canada when I was 23. And that was the first time in my life that I said, maybe I should, like, you know, do something to get healthier.
What made you?
Living in Victoria, to be honest, I saw all these people around me. Everyone was walking and cycling in health stores, and I had never experienced that. I mean, no offense to the States, but where I was living was very much, you know, soda and fried foods and picnics and barbecues and eat, and nobody was walking anywhere, and there was no exercise. It was very much a sedentary lifestyle, and I became accustomed to that because it was safe. So moving to Victoria, all my friends were active, all my coworkers were active, and I started kickboxing, and that was my first taste of, holy shit, I can, like, do well at something, and I'm stronger than I think I am. And that was the start of my kind of journey, if you call it. I don't know what you would consider this start, like, it's all a journey, but kind of the start of my fitness journey, I think.
And I know that, like, it is mind-boggling to think about it, but at your heaviest, how much did you weigh?
My heaviest recorded weight was 375 pounds. And that was November of 2018 was the last time I weighed that. So just over a year ago. And
that is insane. Does it blow your mind?
It does. I don't actually believe it. I mean, you and I have talked before. I'm not like most people. I've had weight loss surgery, which sometimes I feel weird admitting that, because I feel like a lot of people think it's the easy way out.
It's not.
Absolutely
the easy way
nothing
out.
was easy about it. I risked my life, quite literally. I was scared to death up until the minute I went into surgery that I would leave my daughter without a mom, and that broke my heart. But I also knew that if I continued down the path that was going to happen inevitably, I would die of a heart attack or diabetes or anything, because my weight was becoming a bigger issue than it had ever been. And that surgery saved my life, and it saved my mentality, like my mental health, more than anything. And that was just the beginning of where I am right now. You
nailed it on the head. It is just the beginning, because I've had the honor of working with a lot of people that that either decide to get the surgery at some point, or that come to us shortly after or long after the surgery. And indeed, it's not the easy way out.
No.
It is very challenging. I mean, we all love food.
Yep. And I still do.
And you still do, but now you can't eat. Like, you can't decide, you know what, I'm going to sit down and crush, like, all of this food. Like, it's really challenging, because your stomach is so little.
It's smaller,
And the preparation to go into the surgery alone can be Like, did they do like a fasting period or like water juice?
Whole, I think 3 weeks of protein shakes 4 times a day and water, broth. Like 1 cup of broth for dinner. That was like my highlight of the day, was this 1 cup of broth, and I savored every sip of it. But it wasn't as hard as I thought, because in my mind I was like, you are losing weight right now and you are on the right track, and you are doing this for your family and for yourself, and it's all, I never cheated 1 second of that 3-week fast, because I knew
everything was on the line.
What was the point? Why would I cheat myself? I see people on online forums saying, "Oh, I cheated during my fast." I'm like, well, if you're going to cheat now, what's making you think that the surgery is going to change your life? Because it's not.
That's a good point.
It's a tool.
So you already had this mentality of, it's not going to be easy.
Right.
It's going to require willpower and effort. I'm going to start deploying that now and not wait until after the surgery.
Yeah. Because it's not an end-all be-all. You can regain your weight.
100%.
And a lot of people do if they don't work on this.
That's right.
Because you have to change your mindset. You have to change your relationship with food, how you look at it, how you eat it, how you find some other coping mechanism. My coping mechanism used to be turn to food. Eat as much junky food as you can when you're feeling like shit, because it'll make you feel better.
Right.
Or so I thought.
Yeah.
And now, I still have stuff like chocolate or, something that's not necessarily considered healthy, but I don't feel like I ruined anything or that I'm just a lost cause if I do that. I have a small snack, and I'm like, cool, that is what I wanted. And that to me is the biggest thing, is I've changed my relationship with food. So it's not my enemy anymore.
Right.
Because it was my best friend and my enemy at the same time.
Yeah.
But now it's just life force. It just gives me nutrition. Maybe mini eggs don't give me much nutrition, but they make me feel good every once in a while. And I think it is all about moderation, right?
So in total, you've lost how much?
I have lost 169 pounds, which is weird to say that,
shit.
because that's more than my husband weighs. He's like, that better be the only time you lose that much weight. Haha. So to me, that is mind-boggling, but it also reminds me, like, holy shit, you were really, really big. And I had always been big, but I was more like the 250 range of big. But then I got pregnant, and I was in nursing school, and it was very stressful. And when you're under stress for a long period of time, your cortisol levels just keep pumping and pumping and pumping. And I just ate and had postpartum depression, and I just lost everything. I just went so much more downhill than I had ever been.
Every person that I've had the honor of working with, whether they were 200, 250, 300, 350, you name it. It always happens so that, for example, you get to 200 pounds and you're like, oh my God, I'm 200 pounds. Okay. I'm just not going to let it get to 250, because that would be crazy.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're 250 and you're like, okay, fine. But I will never see 300. Right. And then you pass 300 and
totally. That's exactly how it was for me, because I always thought, well, if I could stay under 250, I'll be okay, because I'm tall. I can carry like at 203, 205 pounds. I feel pretty good. I feel like I look all right. I still have some that I want to lose, but I don't feel like I'm technically not obese anymore. I'm just overweight according to my BMI, which makes me feel good. But I kind of lost my train of thought there, but
how it scales, like gradually you gain the weight.
It's so easy because I wasn't weighing myself on a regular basis, which is something I do now. So if I see this scale kind of creeping up, I think, okay, well, maybe you need to tidy up some things in your diet, instead of like never going on the scale, and then a year later you've gained 70 pounds and wonder what the hell happened. That's a lot harder mentality wise to digest.
That's a great point, because a lot of people still come in today and they'll say, hey Miguel, I really need your help. I just realized I am X, almost 300 pounds or over 200, whatever it is. But I really don't want to weigh myself. Yeah. And I've seen this happen several times. So what I say and what I will tell you, if that's what you tell me, no problem. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, the sooner we can get you comfortable with that, the more, it's just, the more exposure you have to the number, the more you will learn that it is nothing but a number.
Yeah.
And it can be very valuable information to tell you, hey, you're on track. Or hey, maybe cut back a little bit on whatever, right? But
it's exposure therapy.
But the people that choose to ignore or literally turn a blind eye to it, they'll find themselves 3, 6, 12 months down the road being like, what?
Right. Because you're not.
We would have caught it a lot earlier.
Exactly. And I admit I was that person. I didn't want to see the damage.
Right.
I didn't want to make it a reality. I knew that I was bigger. I knew that I looked different and I felt different. But I didn't want to face that number. And I think most people could relate to that because it's scary and it makes you feel bad. Yeah. Even now, if I struggle if I'm up a pound or two, you know this from some of our chats, I would get really down on myself. Yeah. Even though it could have been just some water weight or you had something salty and you retained water, anything. But it's really hard to weigh yourself, be up, and not have it negatively affect you.
Absolutely.
And conversely, when you're down, it's like your whole day gets better, right?
Yeah.
So it's so
weird. It is just feedback.
Yeah.
And for example, if we go to our partners or our partners are like, hey, I need to talk with you, or I need to tell you something, I need to share something, and they sit us down and they say, I'm not very happy. All right. It's not going to be easy to hear it, but now you can address it. Now it's on the table. It's not a mystery.
That's right.
Right? We can choose to ignore it, but would that actually be better? No, it wouldn't.
And it usually ends not very well.
That's right.
And I see that too, and I tell my husband that too. I mean, I know it's not the weight loss side of things, but I say, because he'll hold things against me and just like stew.
Keep things inside.
And I said, what about me? Every day I tell you, hey, go wash the dishes already. Like, you've had your dishes there for 15 days. Yeah. Not really, but I'm a big girl. I can handle it. If you tell me the truth and it hurts, sure, it might hurt, but at least I know how you're feeling and we can work through it. Yeah. So it's the same thing. You have to face your fears.
So let me ask you something, because this way of being, at the very foundation of it is self-confidence and self-awareness and self-confidence in your ability to handle it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would fear that feedback.
Totally.
Right? What happened talk to me about what brought you to being like this, where you search for the feedback, you look for the feedback in order to get better?
Honestly, and not to get any brownie points, but it was starting at Driven. That is, I had lost, I don't know, maybe 140 pounds at that point, 150, and I hadn't exercised. It was all just diet at that point. And I was like, okay, I'm to a point where I feel like I could move my body appropriately and I could gain strength and I want to do something active. But my mentality was still kind of, I don't want to say weak, but it was. Like, I didn't feel confident yet. I felt better, but I didn't have the confidence that I have now. And I didn't have the tools to get through the hard times like I do now. And honestly, that has come from being a part of Driven, because not only you guys, like all the trainers and everything, just the constant feedback and the constant presence on Facebook and Instagram and all that, it's not overkill, at least not for me. It's that
What just happened?
That was a dog that ran into the door.
Oh my god. That's a good blooper right there.
Okay.
All right, so you were talking about how the it's almost like the environment is what has been helping you with this. What was it about it?
I just feel like you guys don't want to give up on us, so why should I give up on myself? If these total strangers at that point are willing to believe in me, then why should I believe in myself? I'm my own person and I'm always going to be my own person, so why not embrace that relationship? Because that's a relationship I never worked on. I never worked on my own self-relationship of how I looked at myself, how I trusted my instincts, and how I knew that I could get somewhere by doing things that I needed to do, and I was stronger than I thought. I didn't know all those things.
Right.
But you guys don't let us give up. And I love that. I love that tenacity that everyone has, that no, I don't care if you had a bad week, it's okay. Like, just come back.
Yeah.
There's no pressure, there's no tension, like, oh, well, she hasn't been at the gym for a month, so she's obviously horrible. And, there's none of that. And there's so much accountability, which I feel like for me is huge. If I don't have someone waiting for me to get there, I don't want to see the sad Mexican emails. I don't want to hear, well, why weren't you there?
Yeah.
I've been to gyms multiple times in my life, and it's always like, they don't even know your name. They don't care if you're there or not. They just want their monthly fees, right? Yeah. And that's not how I feel here. I feel like it has really boosted my self-worth, and I've done things that I never thought I could do. Like today I was doing pull-ups and chin-ups, very assisted.
Sure.
But I was still doing them, and I had never trusted my own body to even use like the elastic bands. Yeah. But today I was like, fuck yeah, I'm doing this, right? Yeah. And that's something that I wouldn't even try to do in the past, because I wouldn't want to feel embarrassed if I couldn't do it. Right. And I wouldn't want to let myself down if I thought I couldn't do it. But then I remind myself, okay, when my daughter was 9 months old, she was crawling, and now she's running. She didn't come out of my body running. Right. She had to learn, and she had to progress, and that's just what we have to do. And like Carrie and Katie and Jolene and Elise and all the trainers, they're always saying, well, start here and then progress up.
Right.
And I didn't think I could do that. I just thought I'm very much an all or nothing kind of girl, but I'm not now.
Yeah.
I see the value in progression.
I think that something that helps us a lot to be able to coach in that way is the fact that we've been through it, right? Like, I remember, Nicole, when the first time that I learned what mountain climbers were, I remember trying to do them and dying through like 20 seconds. Yeah. But I remember looking down, because my shirt was baggy and my shirt would hang, right? Like as I was on that push-up position. Yeah. And I remember seeing my belly hanging, and I remember for a fleeting second I was super harsh on myself. Yep. But then I realized that I was doing what I needed to do, and that eventually that wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
And so I think that is key. The fact that our team, like, we've all been through something like that, and we haven't been those people that are blessed and that can eat whatever they want, and they always look the same.
Those people. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, and that is true, because when you know that someone has actually been through what you've been through in their own way, I trust those people more. Right. I had a trainer maybe 10 years ago, a personal trainer. I maybe did 5 sessions with him because I couldn't stand the guy. He would literally get me to do my exercises, and he's supposed to be watching or spotting. Right. He was in the mirror, like flexing and doing his own thing, and I was like, really, dude? Like, he had no clue what it was like for me, and he didn't make any moves to try and get to know what my struggles were or how I had lived my life before. So it does help to know that you guys have been there and you get it, and you're still going to help us push past it because you guys have pushed past your stuff. So that's huge.
The other day somebody asked me, like, why like, what is your number one thing that you want to give people? And now I'm gonna say it in a dumb way, of course. It sounded really smart when I said it too.
Always.
But it was basically just that we never know what we're capable of, but we need someone that says, I believe you can reach here. Because sometimes we will think that our bar is here, but if someone says, I think you can do this, and here's what it would look like. Let's try it. 9 times out of 10, you'll surprise yourself. You may not be here right off the bat, but you'll be higher than what you thought.
Absolutely.
You could do.
And that's what I love and hate about Jolene, is every time she sees me, she's like, how much weight are you using? I'm like, not enough. And so I've gotten to the point where I see her coming and I just go and grab heavier weights because I know she's going to make me use them anyway. but I need that because that's why I haven't succeeded in the past, because I would go to the gym and I'd maybe lift a few weights and maybe walk on the treadmill, but I wouldn't push myself because I didn't know what I could do. I didn't even try to see what I could do. And like Carrie the other day having me do bench presses, and she's like, okay, after the first minute I'll take the weight off. So I rested for a few seconds. She's like, nope, we're not taking the weight off, you're doing them. I'm like, okay, she believes in me. She knows, she has confidence, so I guess I'm doing these. And I did it. And that makes me feel so much more powerful. And makes me feel so much more like I can do even more. And that
it just
is priceless.
Keeps rolling, right?
Yeah.
I always say that, you know, when we find ourselves in a dark place, you know, whether you're the heaviest that you've ever been, or maybe you're the exact same weight, but here you feel like shit, right? Normally, we have a story that is proof in our eyes as to why we are where we are and why that is exactly where we should be. Like that, here it is. This is who I am, right? And as we submit ourselves to doing things that are difficult, you know, putting yourself out there, even doing something like this, or joining a gym, or picking up heavier weights, every single, or you know, passing on McDonald's drive-thru and instead going to Subway for a salad. Like every one of those little things is almost like you have here the stack of proof that shows that you can't do it, you don't have it in you, you're no good, you have no willpower, maybe this is the way it's supposed to be. And you've got this tower of evidence. Excuses, but then each little step that you take in the opposite direction is one sheet of paper that goes on this side now and it says something good about you, right? I resisted temptation. I picked up heavier weights. I, you know, it only took me a day to get back on track instead of a month. And sooner or later, this pile just looks a lot bigger, or at least you see a little bit of a pile, and you're like, all right, I can see.
Come down.
But what about these ones? Like, yes, this is my past, but if I'm all bad, there would be nothing here. You know, and then sooner or later, it starts stacking, and then you're like, I can do that.
I got this.
I got this.
And that's what I learned too. That is how my mentality changed. Like I said, I used to be an all or nothing, so I figured I had this list of excuses of why I couldn't do
what?
It. Like, well, your back will hurt if you do too many of these exercises, or you know, you won't be able to do your work the next day if you're sore. Like stupid exercise or stupid excuses. Or like people at the gym will laugh at you because you're the biggest one there, or I can't do it because of this, I can't do it because of that, or anything, stupid reasons. I always have had excuses.
Well, now you may feel they're stupid, but like at the beginning, they feel so strong, so real.
Oh, absolutely. I believed them 100%, and that's what kept me heavy until I decided that, no, I'm not going to accept those excuses. I am worth so much more than that, is when things changed. And I saw those, like you said, the good things start to pile up. And even if it is a small stack, it's progress, and it's better than you were the day before, right? And to me, that never used to be enough. It was like, well, okay, yeah, you have a little bit going on for good stuff, but it's not enough, so forget it.
It's easy to focus on the massive pile of disappointments that we've had in the past.
And I don't know why we do that. I don't know why it's so easy to let ourselves down when we can be so great and feel so great when we allow that power to come through, because you will never regret going to the gym. You won't, unless you freaking hurt yourself, but that's different. And you'll never regret choosing the healthier meal over the McDonald's. You might really, really want that Big Mac or chicken nuggets, and that's fine, but I know when I make those proper choices, I feel stronger. I feel like each choice you make, it becomes more of a habit, and then it's just your lifestyle.
I agree. One of the things that people seem to think about those of us that make progress is, oh, maybe they can do that, I can't. I don't have this crazy reserve of willpower. And so that's why sometimes, like, I will show you myself eating tacos, and you know, like this is what it really looks like. do you find, like, are you like perfect in your nutrition, like chicken, brown rice, and broccoli all day long, or like?
No, not even close. I still love food. Yeah, I can't eat as much of it, but I still make choices that aren't 100% healthy.
Right.
Because if I, like you say in some of your videos, if you live a restricted lifestyle, it's not sustainable. You might do it for like a show or an event or something and get the results you need for that particular thing, but for a lifetime, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And you'll end up saying, well, oh, you're not allowed to have a certain food. To me, that's an automatic, I'm gonna go
Right.
with that food, right?
Oh yeah, watch me.
Yeah, exactly. So sure, I still have ice cream and I still have chocolate, and I don't eat a lot of the things I used to eat,
Right.
like a bag of chips at one time, or like
Right.
5 pieces of pizza. Thank God I can't do that anymore.
Right.
Because there's days where I still go back to that old mindset of,
Yeah.
I need that to make me feel better.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, I remind myself where I've come from and say, okay, instead of doing that, maybe have a little treat
Yeah.
to suss that little thought or
Yeah.
feeling, and then go for a walk.
Right.
Or drink some water, because 9 times out of 10, it's not hunger.
You're not hungry.
You're not hungry.
When you're hungry for something like, chocolate covered
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
it's
It's
not
not hunger. Yeah. And I've learned that. Yeah.
But you give yourself the room so that if you're really craving something, you
Yeah.
won't say, nope, you can't eat it.
Exactly.
Right?
And I
Trying-
don't beat myself up about it anymore,
Right.
which is what I used to do. I would eat something that I wasn't supposed to have, and then I would feel like shit for like a week.
Right.
And then I would spiral out of control and
Yes.
continue to eat
Because that's
that
more
way.
proof for this
Yeah,
pile, right?
totally.
Like, see, I told you.
Yep.
It's not meant for me.
Yeah, and that's the mindset shift that I mentioned about having, that has been huge, because anybody can move their body, but changing your mindset is hard, and it takes practice.
That is a great point. Great point. Because, a workout is great,
Mm-hmm.
but my goodness, you can just go on YouTube and find a workout.
Yeah.
Right? It is having the accountability, it's having the guidance for when you fall flat on your face.
Yeah.
And you feel, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
See, I was not meant for good things.
Right.
And to have somebody be like, no, yes you are.
Yeah.
You're just human.
Yeah.
Look, see, now
Yeah.
you're up.
That's
like, next step.
Dust yourself up,
Yeah.
and keep going. Yeah. And it's so odd that we do that as humans, that we just, like I said this morning, we don't have a fire on the stove and maybe burn a plate or a saucepan or something, and then say, oh, screw it, I'm going to burn the house down.
Yeah, may
right?
as well.
Might as well. Like, why throw in the towel on ourselves
Yeah.
just because of one dietary choice, or 1 week or month or a year even that you didn't do what you thought you should do.
Right.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and I've learned that, and that's a mantra of mine. There is no end.
That's right.
It's just your life.
Yeah.
I always thought I had to lose a certain amount of money, wow, Freudian slip.
Casino.
I had to lose a certain amount of weight in a certain amount of time to be successful. And now I think, well, what's the point?
Well,
As long as I'm continually going forward and making proper choices and changing my lifestyle, then that's
that's
what
the
it's
reward.
all about. Yeah. Changing and being somewhere now that you weren't a year before, or even a week before. Learning about yourself, learning about other people, learning about what you're capable of. That to me is progress. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to always be the number on the scale.
I agree.
Right?
And enjoying the how you get there,
Yeah.
right? Like who you're surrounded by, how you're dealing with these forks in the road and
Mm-hmm.
these cravings, and because it can literally be hell on earth inside here,
Yeah.
right? Like you can just only look at this bad pile and live there and think that there is no good when it comes to you, right? And that there's no value and that you're just good for nothing. Like
Right.
it can get pretty dark pretty quick.
Totally.
So time's gonna go by anyways. May as well enjoy the
Yeah,
journey.
Exactly. And that is what you guys are good at as well, is like all the little challenges that we have, that I live for that. Even if I don't complete them or I don't do exactly what I'm supposed to do,
Yeah.
I do learn things as I go.
That's the key.
And that to me, before I would say, well, you didn't complete it, so you suck, or you failed.
Another one for this pile.
And exactly. Instead, I'm telling myself, well, you learned this about yourself, or you learned to incorporate this into your diet, or you've learned to have more confidence here, whatever the case
or
may
simply,
be.
you've learned one more thing that you don't like.
Yeah.
And there.
Exactly.
Now eventually we'll find more things that we do
That's
like, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that is maybe where you were before, like at the beginning, like, you know, scratching 400 pounds and terrified?
Yeah. I think looking back, it is really difficult for me to remember who that person was because I'm so far from her now. And if I can do it, it's that cliche, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because the picture that I can paint of how my lifestyle was at that point, I was depressed. I was anxious all the time. I was taking medications for both. I had sleep apnea. I could tell that I couldn't breathe properly because all this weight was just in my throat and my lungs weren't working properly. I had difficulty just getting off the couch to go run after my daughter. That's when I knew I had a major problem. I was like, holy shit, I can't even get off the couch comfortably. And now I'm springing all over the place. I just had my niece's third birthday and I was racing around with all the kids. And that to me felt amazing because I was like, a year ago, I didn't even want to walk to get the mail. That to me was hard. So yeah.
So hope. Like there's basically
always
always hope.
It doesn't mean that, like, yes, I had help with the surgery, but that was just the choice that I made.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that if someone is in that place right now that they have to do that.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they can't get to where they want to be without help. You have to just always believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to do when you're in those dark spots, but you have to know that there's always something you can do.
Yeah.
Even if it's just going for a walk every night for 5 minutes, because then the next week it could be 10 and then 30 and then hey, you might feel comfortable going to the gym and then it just piles on each other.
Well, you know, and it's great. So we have, you're right, that you know, this was just the particular route that you took, but for example, we have David started at 376, I think, and Alexander, he started at 365, I believe, and they've both lost over 100 pounds. And
awesome.
You know, it's just, you know, have you heard that quote of we always overestimate what we can accomplish in a month, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year, or 2 or 10, right? If you just keep at it.
That's right. And you're gonna have setbacks.
100%.
It's just what you do in those moments of a setback that makes a difference. Do you keep pushing and you keep going forward? That's when you'll reach your goals.
Right.
If you stay in that mud and you stay stuck, then you won't. It's plain and simple. You either put in the work or you don't. But time is going to pass anyway. So why don't you want to do things to get to a better place?
Yeah. It's crazy because, you know, if somebody doesn't know you and they're just seeing this, you know, I would think, oh my God, she's so confident, like she's so beautiful, and well, yeah, like it's not easy to be in front of a camera and be
but I
like opening up.
surprisingly feel
And
comfortable.
Is there any booze in that coffee?
That's
Maybe.
questionable. No, I'm driving. I would never be able to do this a year ago.
Right.
I'll just say that. The confidence that I have now, and I don't ever want to have it seen as cockiness because that's so far from it. I still suck at a lot of things, but I know that I have.
It comes from knowing what you've been through.
Right. And confidence to me is the best thing that someone could have. It doesn't matter if you're 300 pounds and confident or 120 pounds. Confidence will get you places.
You do you,
Yeah. So this is strange for me to be comfortable and
I know, you're so
confident.
comfortable.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for this, Nicole. It's been great. I hope that you guys learned a lot from this, and please drop in the comments a little bit of support and motivation to this driven badass. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Boom.